Hey, hey Scott,
Hello,
how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. You know, your presentation is going to be timely today. I was just,
Yeah.
I just got one of those phishing emails yesterday and I fell for it.
Oh no. Where did it come from?
Well, it was supposed to be coming from the Connecticut DOT, from one of the women there who I talk to all the time. She manages the certification process.
Okay.
And so I signed up for one of these supplier diversity websites where like they have all these different companies that you can register for, like Colgate and Johnson & Johnson and stuff. And right after I put in a registration form, I forget, it was one of those bigger companies, I immediately got an email from her, Sherry Pratt at the DOT, saying that there was an contracting opportunity with that company and that this is the name and all that. And I was like, well, why can't I get into it? Like I'm clicking and it keeps saying I need to sign in through Gmail. And I'm like, why do I have to sign in through Gmail? But I'm like, if Sherry's sending it to me, then it must be something good I should go after. So I signed in through Gmail, and then it was like a 300-page financial document in PDF that opened up. And I was like, what is this? So I closed out of it, and then I sent Sherry an email and told her what happened. And then about 2 hours later, I got an email from Gmail saying that it was picked up as a phishing thing.
Yeah.
And that it would automatically delete it if I don't delete it. So then I went in and changed my password, but I don't know, is it too late now? What do they do?
Phishing, they're not usually after. Well, I shouldn't say that. So if you usually a PDF is the bait. So you click on the PDF and it opens. It may open a PDF file, but it's also opening something else.
Oh no.
Usually an executable. So what kind of computer do you have? Is it a Windows or a Mac?
Windows.
Okay. And you have antivirus program on there?
I believe so. I just got it. Like the computer is brand new.
Okay, so you should have at least Windows Defender. So I would have Windows Defender run a scan and see if it finds anything.
Okay. I'm doing that right now.
I was gonna say, so you're on that computer now?
Yeah.
If it's operating normally, then you might be okay.
Yeah, I haven't had any issues, but I just didn't know what to expect. Like, does it lay like eggs and wait for it to hatch? Like,
It could. It really depends on what the aim of the phishing attack was. So it may have been to steal your password, but that's not easily done through a PDF.
oh,
it's more usually clicking on a link and going somewhere and typing in that password.
Okay. No, I didn't click on the link. Like a screen popped up and said you need to put it in.
To put in their password.
Yeah, my Gmail password.
And you did put it in?
Yeah.
Okay, so then that's what it was after. So you've already changed your password?
Yeah.
Yeah, then you should be all right. You should turn on, there's a couple of features in Google where you can, one, you could see where people are logging into your account. I just worked with someone I think it was last week, where she got an email saying your account was somebody attempted to access your account from, I think it was Spain or something.
Oh.
And they blocked the access, but we verified some things, and somebody was also trying to access it from Vietnam. And Vietnam is one of those places where there are a lot of people trying to hack people.
Because I do get those emails when I log in, with the different device or in somewhere new. I'll get an email saying, "Was this you?"
Right.
From
Yeah.
Gmail.
That's them making sure that it was you. So it's funny because I'm actually sharing. One of the statistics I'm sharing is that is it 18 million? Google blocked in 1 week. Google blocked 18 million phishing attacks in 1 week.
Wow.
That was recent. That was last month. I thought I had it on here, but I don't see it now.
18 million.
Yeah, that was recent. So that's during COVID-19. So a lot of it, yeah, here it is. In April, Google, reportedly stopped 18 million. So some get through. Those are the ones that they saw and blocked, but some obviously get through.
Yeah.
So
Like this one got through.
Microsoft, I didn't find any statistics from Microsoft, but I'm sure Microsoft blocked, if not as many, probably more.
Oh, I'm sure.
That was.
I did a scan. It said no threats.
Okay, that's good. I think they were probably after your password then. If it took you to a login screen, it was probably after your password.
And then what do they do with that? Send more phishing emails from my email address?
They could do that. They will try that password on other applications. So they may try it on Facebook. They may try it on bank sites. They may try it on, any public facing web applications you might use for work. They will try it on there. They will try it everywhere. So they have scripts that they run, and then they'll check your email and password against other applications. So if you use that password anywhere else, you should change it.
Now I have to try to remember what it was. Oh, I didn't update my spreadsheet yet, so I'll check my spreadsheet and see what it was.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Wow.
Be careful with the spreadsheet too, wherever you save it.
Oh God. It's back up to Dropbox.
That's why you guys have me on here, right? So this is before COVID-19. Earlier in the year, I got somebody referred to me where they had, you've probably heard of the calls where, you'll get a pop-up on your computer that says call this number. You have a problem with your computer, and they call the number.
Yeah.
And somebody removes into the computer, but they're not really going in to fix your problem. They're going in to steal information. And he said, well, I don't have any information on my computer. I don't know what they stole. And so I looked at his recently opened documents, and sure enough, one of them was tax documents from 2 years ago. So now they have a social security and stuff like that. So I say that because let's say you store that Excel document in Dropbox, and they somehow compromise your Dropbox account, now they have that list of passwords instead of just one password.
Oh God. I'm never going to be able to sleep again.
For everything. I really like the networking groups I'm in. I try to limit the stuff I share because that's how people are. It's just the ways they can come at you. It's unbelievable.
I mean,
and it's getting worse. It's getting worse.
You do the littlest thing and you're so vulnerable.
Yeah. Yep. I've even me, so I do dark web scans and for businesses, and it'll turn up lists. I just did one for a big healthcare. My kids go to them, and there had to be dozens of compromised accounts from this healthcare, and they have internal IT They have somebody managing this for them already, and they're big enough to have their own IT department, and they had no idea.
Well,
Dozens.
it's a good thing they asked you to come in and check it out.
Yeah. Yep. Healthcare, law
Wow.
firm. I don't think I've done any. Have I done any financial firms? I don't think I have, but healthcare and law firms, a lot. Because they use passwords.
Yeah.
They use you know what the most popular password was last year? Still 1 2 3
What?
4 5 6. Still.
Are you
But you would
serious?
think 2019, you would think, no more. But it's still happening.
Wow. I thought my she's not my assistant, like my writer. She helps me a lot. And every time she needs to log into something, she's like, if you don't stop using these generic passwords, I'm like, I like my passwords. I think they're strong enough. Like I put in, I put one of these symbols at the top, a $! Exclamation point. I feel like it's nice and strong. She's like, no. And then I'm like, I'm never going to remember them.
Well, so there's
Then if I put
password.
it on the spreadsheet could get compromised.
Yeah, well, if you save it locally, you have less chance of that happening. So if you save it right on your computer, there's less chance of that happening. It could still happen, but it's less chance. If you save it to the cloud, you have a bigger chance. This cloud people save stuff to the cloud all the time, and they don't secure it. And you hear these massive. There was one I saw this morning. Is it called Wishbone, I think, or something like that? 40 million user accounts compromised. And it wasn't because somebody hacked it. It was because they left a database open on the internet. So it was easy to find the database, download it, hacker group grabbed it. And actually, instead, normally the hacker groups will sell those things. And they only sell it for like a couple $1,000s. But when they sell this for some reason, this time they decided we're just going to share it for free. So it's getting worse. It's is it just us?
Right now, yeah, I don't have anybody in the waiting room. Colleen from the library says she's going to be a few minutes late. Arthur, I don't know if you have access to how many people registered. I don't have that information.
I don't, because I'm actually attending as an attendee today.
So it's I thought about it after the fact. I don't know why I didn't think about it sooner. It's the Friday before Memorial Day, so we might be late. But if you want to give me share screen access, I can share what I have.
Okay. It wasn't until yesterday that I realized that it's Memorial Day weekend. It just feels like any other weekend.
Sure does.
All right, I'm making you the host. And I'll keep monitoring to see if anyone comes in. We are recording, so it'll be on the libraries and putting on I think the website and on Facebook.
Okay. I grew up in New Haven, so I know all about the library.
Oh yeah. And I'm learning it because I grew up in Queens, New York. How do you pronounce the name of your company?
Nuage.
Nuage. Does it mean something?
Nuage, yeah. It does. So my wife is from Haiti, and Nuage in Creole means cloud.
Oh.
So I wanted to call the company Cloud Tech, but somebody already owned the domain, so.
So in a way you did. You got around it.
Yeah, I was going to do it in Italian and French, and they were both owned already, so I went with Creole. I think I may have checked Spanish too. One of them didn't really sound good, so I didn't go with it. But
okay.
So yeah, we're going to talk about the anatomy of a ransomware attack. So everybody probably has some idea what a ransomware attack is, but not everybody knows how they happen or how they most often happen. And it's funny because you just you told me your story of the phishing attack you got yesterday, and those are very common through email. They are even, what people don't realize is they occur through phone calls, which is called phishing. They occur through, so you may get the calls where they ask you for the last 4 of your social security number to verify who you are.
Yeah.
Never give that information. I will tell it, even if it's a legitimate company, I will say, listen, I'm not giving you that information. If you know who I am, then you already have it.
You don't need it.
Right, you don't need it. And they don't really need it for anything. But that is a common way to compromise people, because if they have enough information on you already, like where you were born, they already know part of your social security number. So you'll know in Connecticut, like my social security number starts with 041 because I was born in Connecticut. And that's common. I think anybody who, I know that people that immigrate from another country will have social security numbers that, some of them will have social security numbers that begin with 100.
Okay.
So now you have enough information to compromise even further. And you say, well, we just need your last 4 of your social. You know, if they have your date of birth, they already have your date of birth. How, you know, probably 95% of the people I know share their birthdays on Facebook. So they have enough. They know where, some people share where they were born, so they have that information. It's really not hard to get enough information to be able to compromise people. So there's phishing, so they do it over the phone. There's smishing, they do it through text message. I got one yesterday. I don't remember if I screenshotted it, but I got one yesterday that said, I got a reward from T-Mobile. I'm a T-Mobile customer. I got a reward from T-Mobile, but I need to claim it before today.
Yes.
And
those just what started happening more recently in the last few months, I think.
it's the first one I got one, but it doesn't surprise me. So the problem right now is we have COVID-19 going on, so everybody's distracted. So easier to do something like that because you're thinking, oh, I just had a rough 2 months. A free reward from T-Mobile would be great. But they're playing on your emotions. So if you get something that's playing on your emotion, a lot of time that is a good indication that it's phishing or some form of phishing. So we're going to talk about how ransomware attack starts and then how it evolves from there. And a lot of times it starts with a phishing attack. 90% of all ransomware attacks begin with phishing. So phishing is a form of social engineering, and they, you know, it gets classified, it gets lumped in with hacking, and it's not really, it is hacking, it's hacking humans. But it's not like they have this complex computer program that they're running to scan, to find vulnerabilities in computers. They're hacking humans, and humans are the most vulnerable form of I guess, technology.
Yeah.
So phishing is a form of social engineering. There's business email compromises, which is a form of phishing where they say, hey, you know, we need to change our payment information, send payment here, and then the company will send the payment to a new bank account, and now that money is gone. That's another form of phishing. Oh, this is about me. So I, you know, obviously, I think you have to kind of love technology to do what I do, because you do have frustrating days. Today was a little frustrating. Like I was getting hammered this morning from clients, and I'm like, you guys all know Monday is Memorial Day, right? Yeah, the day just kept coming this morning. So I do, you know, obviously there's, in any business, I'm sure you have it too, doing content development and stuff, where there's days that it's just really, really frustrating.
Yes. This whole week has been that way.
Right. And well, opening up, people are probably like, hey, I need new content. But I do love technology, and I think whatever you do, you have to love it in order to do it, at least to a point. Like my mother's, my wife is a therapist. She has to love it because she has bad days as a therapist. So I do love small businesses, my family, and of course baseball, which there is none of right now. But
sorry.
Yeah, my son plays. I feel bad for him. He's been playing. This would have been his 6th year. So what is ransomware? Ransomware is malware. So we all know what malware is. You all hear the term computer virus all the time. You get malicious content on your computer, and then you know, you might get pop-ups, advertisings. You might get your computer just doesn't function properly. You can't connect to the internet. It destroys your computer. There's a lot of different things that computer viruses can do. The irony is that Verizon does a report every year. It's called the Verizon Data Breach Investigation Report. And they do it every year. They just released 2019's report. Computer viruses are actually down significantly. The two things that are down significantly are computer viruses and corporate espionage. Those two types of malicious content are down. Ransomware was up in 2019 a lot, significantly a lot. It is down in the first quarter of this year, But again, that might be in part due to COVID-19 because a lot of businesses were shut down. But it is malicious software that encrypts files and documents. So ransomware really took off in the last couple of years, where they started going after businesses. So it's been around probably 5 or 6 years at least. And you used to get friends all the time. Like I would get family members call me up and say, hey, I got this note on my computer that says pay the FBI $200 or else. Well, they evolved now, so they figured, hey, $200 a pop isn't really cutting it, and most people didn't fall for it. Some people did, but most didn't. So they've evolved. They started going after businesses, and then they went after businesses. They started encrypting all of their files. Business can't operate without their files. So, and now they don't ask for $200 anymore. They ask for a lot more. In some cases, millions. I'll tell you about one ransomware attack in New York in a moment. A brand new one that happened.
Oh, right. Wow.
2 weeks ago. So once the files are encrypted, the attacker then demands a ransom. It's usually a note that'll pop up on the computer that says, hey, pay this ransom to get your files back. And then
So
from there, you have to make
seen
a
this
decision.
I've only seen this in action on like Grey's Anatomy. Grey's Anatomy and the other hospital show.
Oh,
They keep doing this where the Chicago one, Chicago Med. The screen goes blue, a note pops up. They can't access any of their they can't access any of their medical record files and all of that.
Yeah, and that's, so healthcare is one of the biggest targets for obvious reasons. Protected health information, actually, I'll share a statistic on that in a moment too, but protected health information is extremely valuable on the dark web. So buying people's health records, and I don't know why somebody's health records would be valuable, but it is. It's one of the most expensive things on the dark web.
That was my question. Why? Why do you want that?
I think it depends on the person too. So like if somebody has compromised health, you're probably not interested in that. But it also depends on who it is. So the ransomware attack in New York has some very well-known, so it's a law firm and they have very well-known clients, and having, let's say, the protected health information of Donald Trump might be extremely valuable. But I'll get to that in a moment because Donald Trump did come up, but we don't know what the story of that is yet.
Okay.
So ransomware, or all of malware really, comes from all over the world, and including from the US. I've had people try to compromise my stuff from Virginia. So it does happen in the US. It does happen more often from China, North Korea, Russia, Iraq, Iran, places like that. But it does occur from all over the world. I told you that I had a client last week whose accounts were attempted to be compromised from Spain and Vietnam. So Philippines is another place. A lot, India. So a lot of places where they have the talent pool of people who are good with creating programs, doing programming. So that's where a lot of it comes from. Countries where that's not as popular, where maybe computer programming isn't a big deal, not so much, but it does happen.
Okay.
And then, you hear nation states a lot, meaning these are the countries that North Korea would be a nation state example. So North Korea doesn't get along with the US. They will try to attack US. There actually was a warning from the FBI a few weeks ago. They'll try to attack US businesses to steal information. The US does it too. Obviously we're not going to say we do, but we do. I think pretty much any nation that has the capability will try to do it. These are some of the statistics, and there are a lot of them, but these are some that I found interesting. So the average cost of a ransomware attack is $46,800, and that's on small businesses. There was a statistic just released, and that's not paying the ransom, by the way. There was a statistic just released. Actually, I'm sharing that in a moment, but so they just released a new number that says refusing to pay the ransom demand would cost the business approximately, on average, $730,000, and that was a poll of businesses that were hit with ransomware attacks. On average, $730,000. Paying the ransom actually costs more to recover. So it costs $1.4 million to recover on average. And that includes the ransom. So you pay your ransom demand, which again, typically is in the tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands. And then you still have to recover. So they'll give you the encryption key, sometimes, not always. They'll give you the decryption key to restore your files. And then they will, hopefully it works, because there are some that don't even work. And then you still have to, now you have to train your employees on how to not do what they did that caused this in the first place. You have to shore up all your IT, all your infrastructure to make sure that it doesn't happen again. So there's a lot of recovery costs involved. There is,
so that was going to be my question. How is there a cost if you don't pay the ransom? So if you don't pay the ransom, but then you have to pay an IT company to come in and fix it?
yeah, so hopefully, and this is why you hear IT people all the time say, make sure you have a good backup, because that's the easiest way to fix it. If you have an offsite backup, a backup that's not compromised in any way, then you fix it from that. You restore your files from that backup. So we offer backup service that what it does is it backs up locally. This is what one of the boxes looks like.
This is going to be my question. What do you suggest for a backup service? Hey, Colleen.
So that's this box right here stores backups locally, and then it pushes it up to a cloud infrastructure as well, cloud server. So what happens is if my server goes down with ransomware, or for any reason really, I can be back up on a virtual machine of that same server within 5 minutes or so. So that's through Datto. I partnered with Datto, which is based in Norwalk. And so that and it usually is ransomware, but if it happens, we can restore quickly. We can be back up and running quickly and then restore back to the server from that backup. So you have a local one, which is obviously is a faster restore. And then you have a cloud one in case the local one is somehow not good.
So from a consumer perspective, is that, because I think I bought one of these things. So is that something you can buy from Amazon, the backup?
You can buy.
Like, can you do it on your own?
Yeah, you can. So here's what I would recommend. If you're going to do it on your own, there's a few ways you can do it. So I would recommend having a local backup. So that would be an external hard drive that you back up to. Be careful not to keep it connected all the time, because if it is connected, when you get hit with a ransomware attack, that is also going to be encrypted. You can then also purchase cloud backup services. So there's Backblaze is a pretty common one that we offer. It's if you have a lot of data, it could take some time to back it up, but it's only $5 a month and it's unlimited amount of storage. So I have probably 15 or so clients running Backblaze where they just back up to that and they don't have to worry about it. And that's probably 5 or 6 years I've been offering that. Only once did we have to restore from a backup. So it did work. It took some time, but it did work.
So how does that Backblaze, how does Backblaze, how does that differ from like a Dropbox?
Dropbox won't do an automatic backup. You can do it with OneDrive. You can set up OneDrive to back up all your information. But if your computer gets compromised, then your OneDrive account may also be compromised.
Okay. So Backblaze
there may be third-party software, and there probably is, that will back up everything to Dropbox for you. But Dropbox acts as another folder on your computer, so you still risk possibly having that encrypted as well.
So how does Backblaze
the
work
idea
then?
Backblaze has a separate username and password for it, so that and it's not an active directory on your computer, so it's just taking the files and uploading them, but you can't navigate those files or anything on your computer. You have to download it again to be able to use it.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah. And I saw something, Backblaze just made a major announcement, but I don't remember what it was off the top of my head. So the people that created Backblaze used to work for Apple, but it works on, it works on Apple, Windows, whatever. So they created this program, and it's been around for probably 5 or 6 years now, at least.
That's pretty cool.
And there's others. There's other ways to do it. There's a service called Wasabi,
Okay.
and they give you 1 terabyte of storage for $5 a month, I think. 1 terabyte is a lot of storage. So if you're just storing critical documents, you don't need a terabyte. But if you have
Okay.
like videos, which you might have, if you have videos and photos, you might need a little more.
Okay.
What else? So we have over 41 million healthcare records have been exposed in 2019. That is more than 2016, 17, and 18 combined.
Are you sharing? Because we're still seeing your first slide.
Really? I'm on a
Yeah.
slide that says ransomware facts right now. You don't see that?
No.
That's weird. So you don't see that either?
No.
That is weird. Am I sharing the wrong thing? Hold on, let me try again.
Okay. I just realized when it looked like you were getting off the screen, I was like, should we be seeing that screen?
I think I was sharing the wrong one.
Okay, there we go.
Okay. So you didn't see my cool map?
No. Well, now we'll watch it.
You guys, so you see it now?
Yes, now we see the whole thing playing. This is cool.
No,
Bad
I have
Rabbit.
this
Oh,
map.
cool.
Yeah, Bad Rabbit was a ransomware attack. It's probably been a few years at least. The biggest one you guys might be familiar with was the WannaCry. That was 2017, I think.
Yeah.
The WannaCry hit, didn't hit the US too bad, but there were some organizations, and it was anybody who had Windows 7 that wasn't patched and Windows Server 2008 that wasn't patched. And it took down a lot of organizations in Europe and I think Russia as well. I think Russia was the hardest hit.
Wow. So it just targeted Windows systems?
Yes, usually ransomware, because Windows has the biggest market share by far. Usually they go after Windows.
Okay.
Not always. So it's not to say Mac is safer. It's not. There have been some variants of ransomware and malware that have targeted Windows, Mac. Sorry, even some that have targeted iOS. I know everybody believes that Mac and iOS. Not everybody, but a lot of people believe Mac and iOS are secure, that they can't be attacked. That's not true. They can be.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
this
I would
is.
think. Oh, this is where you were. So my question from this is, is there any evidence that due to COVID-19 and the state of the economy that these people, are they attacking small businesses more?
Right now, no, because a lot of those small businesses were closed, with the exception of healthcare and what they considered anything they considered essential. So
Yeah.
my concern in this, so I've been sharing that, and I think you heard me in the BNI meeting the other day, share, where businesses that are reopening, they may already have been hit, they just don't know it yet. So before you go and turn on the computers, somebody should check those. Healthcare has been open for the most part. The dentists and the chiropractors, they haven't been open, but the frontline workers, they've been open. The hospitals they've been open, and there are ransomware groups. There are some ransomware groups that said they would not target healthcare during the pandemic. There are
That
others.
was nice of them.
Well, one of them said they wouldn't, and they did.
It's like, oh, thank you. Thank you for not being terrible all the time.
Yeah, right. But I'm sure there are some theories that they're just retooling right now. So,
yeah.
Then there were some that said they were purposely going to target healthcare to slow down the recovering from the pandemic. So
Really?
it's really hard to say. So yeah, so 41 million healthcare records last year were exposed. That is more than the 3 years prior to that combined. This year, so far it's a little bit slower, and I'm going to share some stuff from April in a moment. It's a little bit slower, but again, I think that might partially be due to the pandemic.
Oh, so I had a question. So you were saying when businesses are reopening, they should go and check and make sure. So what does that mean? So like before you boot up all your systems, do you do a virus scan?
Right. There's ways to scan without actually turning on the computer. You turn it on, but you boot to a separate device and scan and see if there's any malicious content, or you just don't connect to the internet immediately and scan as well. Sometimes that'll help.
Okay.
Every 14 seconds, a business or organization falls victim to a ransomware attack. That will probably, so I think what is going to happen is, I mentioned earlier, ransomware attacks are down for the first quarter of 2020. I think you're going to see a big surge in the second half of 2020. 97, what is 97? I have it here, hold on. Oh, ransomware attacks have increased 97% in the last 2 years. So 2018 and 19 has increased 90, it's almost doubled. And 109%, phishing has increased 109%. Now, the other reason I think ransomware is going to surge in the second half of this year is because phishing has already surged this year. It's huge, a huge jump in phishing attacks. A lot of it is centered around COVID-19, so you'll get something that says, I got one actually that said, I'm paraphrasing, but something along the lines as, somebody you know has COVID-19, you know, click this email, click this link to get more information. And,
Right.
you know, obviously everybody's afraid of getting COVID-19, so what do? They click on it to get more information. It's a phishing attack. There are phishing websites that say they have a vaccine, that have the cure, that have this, that, and the other thing, track COVID-19 in your area, all phishing websites, and they're trying to steal information. So I tell everybody all the time, if you want information about it, go to CDC, go to World Health Organization, go to HHS website, those things, government websites. Make sure that it is, type it in manually, don't just click on links for it.
Mm-hmm.
Pushing different drugs, all that kind of stuff.
Exactly, the hydrochloroquine, I think I'm saying it, things like that. And there's, you know, they might actually sell you hydrochloroquine, but it might be fake.
Yeah.
1.5 million new phishing sites created every month on average. There was in April, I think it was April, 2,000 new COVID-19 phishing websites registered every week.
These people sure got a lot of time on their hands.
Yeah, well, that's, you know, that's what they do. In April, I mentioned this to you earlier, April, Google reportedly stopped 18 million COVID-19 phishing emails in 1 week. So that means those were the ones that didn't actually get through to people.
Wow.
Right, 18 million in 1 week.
Million.
Fewer than 1/3 of organizations who pay the ransom receive all their data back. So there's a couple of reasons for that. One is sometimes the decryption key doesn't work or work properly. Sometimes the ransomware group doesn't really care. You'll see that change, because if ransomware groups are saying, hey, pay us $1 million, we'll give you the decryption key, and you pay $1 million, they're not going to not give it to you, because then the next victim will say, well, you didn't give it to that person, so why would I trust you?
And that information is out there?
The decryption keys?
No, so that other people can like do their research and say, oh, but you
yeah, because so what's happening is now ransomware attacks. So you have in Europe, you have the GDPR, I forget what GDPR stands for, but it's their data protection laws. And we have some in the United States. The United States as a whole doesn't have it yet. They probably will soon. But California has it. They have the CCPA, the California Consumer Protection Act. New York has it, the SHIELD law. I don't think Connecticut has anything. So what happens is, if you get hit with a ransomware attack, you have to report it as a data breach in those states. If you do, if I'm doing business with any businesses in New York, which I am, and some of you might be, if I get hit with a ransomware attack, I have to report it to New York because they have a data protection law.
But how do you know about this though? How does like a typical small business solopreneur in California know how to report it?
Well, in California, the rules for the CCPA, you have to have a certain amount of revenue, and it's in the millions. So I don't remember what the number was, but it's up there. But that will change over time. It will evolve, and so I'm sure California's goal right now is more of let's educate people than it is to actually to actually enforce the rules.
Yeah.
Do you suggest reporting it?
Yeah, you should, and because it's a data breach. Now it's a data breach. It used to be ransomware. All they did was encrypt your files. Now it's a data breach because it's evolved. And what happens now is they steal your data before they encrypt everything. So let me see if I have it here. I'm not sure if I have it.
So they're getting 2 uses out of that.
More than that.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'll tell you about the New York one because I don't have it on the slide. There's a law firm in New York. I don't remember the name of the firm, but it's GSM Law. I don't remember the name of the partners, but GSM Law. They primarily represent entertainers, so celebrities like Lady Gaga is a client, Madonna's a client, Bruce Springsteen's a client, and there's hundreds of clients. They were hit with a ransomware attack about 2 weeks ago. The ransomware group shared that they stole the data, and they actually shared, you can see, like when you go in Windows and you go in Windows Explorer, you can see all the files. They shared a screenshot of that from the law firm. So they have at least something. And they have these are like tier 1 entertainers, right? And this this ransomware group says that they have information on Donald Trump from that ransomware attack. And then demanded $42 million. The law firm said, no, we're not paying you $42 million. They probably don't have it. And then said, do what you got to do. The ransomware group said, okay, fine. Well, they claimed to have sold Donald Trump's information to another group. And they did release some emails, but apparently the emails weren't really anything of importance. So it didn't matter. I don't think the law firm says Donald Trump wasn't one of their clients. So I don't think they really have anything on Trump, but they do have stuff on some of those other people for sure. So while $42 million is a lot of money and most businesses can afford that, I don't know that they've recovered from it. I don't know that they've been able to restore from backups for that yet. There's been no updates about that, but they have to report it because they're in New York. The data was stolen, and New York has what's called the SHIELD law, which is data protection.
So the ransom company, is it a company? I don't know. The ransomware people, they put the information out there and say, look what I did. Why?
Some of it is notoriety. Some of it is trying to make money. It depends on the group. There's actually, I just read yesterday, there's a vigilante ransomware group. So they go after, right now they're going after all those payday loan companies. They go after those groups because they feel, and rightfully so, that those groups, the payday loan companies, are crooked. So they hit them with ransomware, and they actually knocked a company in Germany. They took them out.
So do you think they can do that to student loans?
I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if it hasn't already happened. I wouldn't be surprised if it hasn't already happened.
Just wipe it all out.
I like it.
If every American with student loans donates $1 to them, that's a lot of money. Yeah. Maybe they can knock it all out.
Sammy, you're a genius.
It's that entrepreneurial mindset.
Well, there is ransomware as a service now too. So you can pay a group to do it for you. I wouldn't be surprised if they've already tried to go after some of those student loan companies. Wouldn't shock me.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'll have to research that. That sounds interesting.
So I assume there's like stiff penalties if they get caught, right? There's jail time.
Yeah, you're gonna go to jail, and it depends on the country. Ukraine just arrested a guy who had he had terabytes of data on.
Wow.
And he's looking at, I thought it was a light sentence, but he's looking at 8 years.
Wow. I wonder how they determine that. Yeah.
In the U.S., it's probably longer, but a lot of times what happens in these countries too is they may hire him after. They may say, hey, you're good at this, let's hire you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Microsoft has done that. Google's done that. So
like Catch-22, yeah.
So it's kind of like you're interviewing for a job.
In a sense, yeah. So but the problem is that where it gets dangerous is that there are some people that are really, really good at it. And then there's a second layer of group of people that are okay at it, and another third layer where they don't know what they're doing. So they'll launch a ransomware attack having no idea what they're doing, and then maybe you will pay them and you get nothing out of it.
You gotta fake it till you make it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
On average, 60% of small businesses fold within 6 months of a cyber attack. So they get hit, data gets stolen or deleted or whatever, and they close after 6 months. And with the current economy, that's not going to be a good number to have right now. So again, my fear being small businesses that have been closed for the last 2 months or operating on a skeleton crew, go in, turn on some servers, and the next thing you know, they have ransomware. They're not going to be able to recover. They're already hurt, and they're not going to be able to recover.
How small are you talking when you talk small business? Like, is it more, which size sort of category of business is more susceptible to a ransomware attack?
They're all susceptible, and more now than ever because of the way ransomware has evolved. Okay. Enterprise businesses, corporations, large corporations are obviously a big target because, hey, if I could take out Microsoft and demand, millions and millions of dollars, Microsoft probably has means to recover anyway, so it's not going to matter. But if I can attack a company of that size, then I'm probably more likely to get paid some kind of money.
Right. Okay.
But if you attack, a small mom and pop shop, you're probably not going to get any money. You're probably going to make that business end up closing.
Right. Okay.
It depends on what the goal is of that ransom person.
Right. And sometimes it is just to close down a business. Maybe they don't like that business for whatever reason.
Right. Political reasons.
There is cyber liability insurance that is offered. I have a few insurance companies that I know that offer it now. So then if you get hit with an attack, they pay the ransom. And they are actually more likely to pay the ransom because it is, in their eyes, is quicker and cheaper to do that than it is to try to recover.
So I'm interested in that because I recently, in my business insurance, I wanted to add that, and the prices seem so much higher for cybersecurity. It's
all over the place right now. It depends. If you talk to Trey that was on the call yesterday, they partnered with Justin Sloan, and he was offering cyber liability.
Okay.
So I'm not sure where you are in the world, but I'm in Meriden now. He's right down the street from me. BSP.
I'm in New Haven.
Okay. So he's not too far from you. There's also Traeger Resnitsky. They're in Brantford and North Haven. You probably bumped into them before too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they both offer cyber liability.
Okay.
And what they'll do is they'll shop it. They don't just go with one particular company. They'll shop it. One of those companies actually was hit with a data breach not that long ago. One of the cyber liability insurance. It was
really?
Tug. Is it Tugs? Begins with a T. Yeah, they were hit. They had a lot.
Wow.
I don't know who insures them. I don't know.
Right? I was just thinking that. Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, no, everybody's a target, and I worry about it. This is what I just shared with you. So if you pay ransom, this was a recent survey done by Sophos, I think. If you refuse to pay a ransom demand, and on average it costs $730,000 to recover. I'm not sure if this is a certain tier of business because I'm not making anywhere near $730,000 a year.
Yeah.
And then
small, I think, changes that number. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, but paying a ransom almost doubles your recovery costs.
Doubles that.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's good to know.
76% of businesses reported being a victim of phishing attack in the last year. So,
Colleen, I was just saying it happened to me yesterday.
Yeah.
No. Oh my God.
Target. Everybody's a target.
I'll have to tell my dad. My dad has 2 small businesses, so.
Yeah. But not even just businesses. People are targets too.
People are targets too, yeah.
There's phishing attacks where all they're trying to do is get your credentials. That's it.
Yep.
So
they're capitalizing on fear. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And fear is the biggest motivator. Fear of missing out, fear of not having the information you need, just fear across the board. Fear that your account, hey, there's something wrong with your banking account. Click here to fix it.
Yep.
That's going to scare you. And they click it. They log into what they think is it. It's really easy.
I get them all the time from PayPal, and it's like, first of all, least try to make your email address look like a PayPal email address. Like that's the first thing I do is look at the email address. Like I'm not sending this to you.
Yeah.
But you know what? Yes, you saw that and good job. But a lot of people don't notice that.
And I fell for it yesterday with the other company. So
There
This
are
is good timing, I guess. It should have been the day before yesterday.
I know.
there are a lot of indications of phishing email. One of them is being poor grammar. Another one is the email address. If they ask you, I always tell people, do not click on any links. Even if you think it's a legitimate email, don't click the link. Just go type in PayPal manually and then log in from there. And if PayPal legitimately sent you some kind of communication, when you log in manually, you'll see that communication in your PayPal account.
Mm-hmm.
I've been Googling scams lately a lot. I've been seeing a lot more clothes like advertisements for companies that literally just registered the day before, and they're run out of China, and they have all these beautiful pictures that they stole offline, and they're saying like, we'll sell you these clothes. And I fell for one of those. And then now I search scam alert websites and stuff to like have people report whether or not a company is a scam. So that's been happening a lot more ever since the shutdown. I've noticed. Yeah,
there's been an increase in websites like that, and I've become so paranoid now. If I see an ad on Facebook that says, hey, this product is available and blah blah blah, and I'm interested in that product, I don't even go to that website anymore unless it's one I recognize. I just go straight to Amazon and see if it's on Amazon.
and see if it's on Amazon. Yeah, you have to. It's crazy.
And as an example, so my wife saw one for this little thing that makes donuts. So it's just like to squirt it out, like, and I said, don't buy it from that website. Don't, let me go on Amazon. I went on Amazon, found it cheaper, got it in like 3 or 4 days, because Amazon Prime right now is apparently not really Prime.
Yeah.
But I got it within a few days anyway. And she did order it, and she's still waiting. She thought the one that came was from her order. And I said, no, that's my Amazon order. But because I didn't know she ordered it. She ordered it too, but from that website, and she still hasn't gotten it. And so that is another issue, not even ransomware related. It's called MageCart, and what they're doing is stealing credit card information.
Okay.
And it's really easy to clone a website. There are programs that are freely available that will allow you to clone a website and make it look like the legitimate website. And it doesn't take long to do it all.
You know, I haven't heard about cloning a website, but I've had companies contact me and say, like out of the blue, I've never had a conversation with them before, and they'll say, I created this website for you. Like they want to be my web developer. So they contact me and say, check out this website we made for you. And it has like all my information, my brand colors, but it's like completely restructured. And I'm like, who has time to go and do this? Why do people do this?
Probably easy.
Do you think that may be a scam?
There are easy ways to clone, but there's also legitimate companies, but what they're doing is they have employees. Their employees are in India, so they don't have to pay them as much. So they will, and I get those messages in LinkedIn all the time, and it's the same.
That would freak me out, seeing all my info. Yeah.
It's really strange.
Yeah.
And they're like, if you don't like this one, we could do another design for you. And I'm like, who sat here and did this whole website without my input?
Yeah.
There was a guy that was here in Connecticut for a little while, and then he went back to India. He's from India. He went back to India, and he got clients from here. And I mean, he's a legitimate business owner, and he does really well. But he went back to India, so he charges U.S. rates, but he's in India, so he doesn't have to pay anywhere near the amount of money that you have to pay here.
Interesting.
Which, that always makes me laugh when people say, hey, we're going to stop buying things from China. Okay, good luck with that.
Right? It's like you're going to spend a lot more money.
Yeah.
A lot more money. Your iPhone that costs you $1,000 now will probably be like $10,000 here if you make it here. Okay, good luck.
Yeah. And it really sucks because it makes you not want to buy from these websites, which could just be a small business website, like trying to.
For one bad person ruins it for everybody.
And one bad person, you say, I don't recognize this company, let me go to Amazon. And it just stinks because the good people out there that are really trying to make their business work online now because they have to are suffering.
Yeah.
That's very true. And so that's another, financial hit that these companies might be taking. Some of them will also sell on Amazon, so there's that.
Right.
And I think in the case of the donut thing, it was the same company. But you never know with these websites, because a vulnerability could come out today, and people are attacking that vulnerability within minutes and saying, okay, we found this vulnerability. Once a vulnerability becomes public, people are going to go after it.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of times that happens with websites where they will install scripts to steal credit card information. They'll install scripts to mine for cryptocurrency. So if you may have you ever gone to a website and then your computer, the fan starts racing and the computer starts slowing down and things like that?
Mm-hmm.
That website is probably mining for Bitcoin, using your computer to mine for Bitcoin.
Thank God I don't use that.
Yeah. Well, you don't have to. They're using it to mine. They're just using your computer's resources to mine.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's not really, other than making your computer work harder, it's not really doing.
It's like stealing your internet. Yeah.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
There's so many different like levels to this.
44% HIPAA breaches in April. 44% of them were through email, which is phishing. That seems to be pretty standard for HIPAA breaches. HIPAA being healthcare, of course. We do a lot with healthcare, so it's usually in the 40th percentile for phishing. But it's when you have, how many breaches were there in April? There was probably, there was 18 were emails, so that would be roughly 60 breaches in April reported. They're not all reported, obviously. 44%, so 18 of them were email. When you only have 60, 70, 80 breaches in a month, and almost half of them are through email, that's a problem. Some of them were theft, some of them were lost information. A lot of it is still paper, which I don't get how that still happens today, but by far the highest margin was email.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the evolution.
That's why there's spam folders. You would think spam would pick up on that stuff, but I guess they're not very.
They do. It depends on what email you're using too. So they do, and that's why Google said they stopped 18 million emails in 1 week in April.
Yeah.
That's week after week they're doing that. There's still some that gets through. They can't stop. So if the way to get around phishing. So I'll put it to you another way. Have you ever gotten an email from someone? They call you up and say, "Hey, did you get my email?" And you're like, "No, I didn't get it." And then you go and look in spam and it's in there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because certain subject lines will automatically send an email to spam.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And so that happens with phishing too. So the people sending the phishing emails realize that and say, okay, I'm just going to change the subject line then. So now we're getting all these emails about COVID-19. Google's software that's supposed to flag all those things is saying, all right, that's legit, it's COVID-19. And some of it will get through. Now,
or it'll say like, Jennifer, I met you at that networking event. Like, here's the follow-up. And you're like, did I meet a Jennifer at a networking event? Maybe. I can't remember her name.
Yeah.
Like, maybe that's her. Yeah.
Yeah, that's another point. If they're using your name, then Google's going to say, okay, that might be legit. Let's let that through. As a matter of fact, Google will sometimes mark those as important.
Right. Because they think you have a personal connection and it's a real person. Interesting.
So Google and Microsoft 365 for email, those two are probably filtering out 90 to 95% of everything that you would normally get. But a lot of people don't use those services. A lot of people use, the free email through GoDaddy or the whatever hosting they're using or whatever it is. And those services aren't as good as filtering those things out as Google and Microsoft at this point.
So would you, for that reason, if you have like a Wix website or a Weebly website and they GoDaddy and they offer you your own email so that it's your businessname.com instead of like at Gmail for your contacts. So like my dad's business would be like info at his business. Would you recommend not doing that and just doing Gmail?
Yeah, you could do G Suite, which is Gmail or Microsoft 365, either one. And they will filter out more than the other services will.
Yeah, that's what I have. I use G Suite for Sam's Word. So it's writers@samsword.com, but it's through Gmail.
But it's through Google. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll tell my dad about that. Yeah.
And they're not that expensive. It's like $6 a month for an account.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the evolution of ransomware, we kind of touched on this. They're not just encrypting things anymore. So the way it happens, most of the
I
time,
thought that was toilet paper. That goes to show what the pandemic is doing to me.
is that still an issue in the stores? I don't even know.
It is actually.
Wow.
Yeah.
It is.
So I will
Yep,
say,
I can't find it.
Not that it's relevant, but in early March, when we started to see the signs of this happening, I said, okay, I had heard that New Jersey, no stores in New Jersey had toilet paper. So I went to BJ's and bought the big, huge thing of toilet paper, one of those. And we're still using that 2 months, 2.5 months.
That's good.
Wow.
That's amazing.
And we actually gave some away. And then we also have a Restaurant Depot membership. And so we saw that they had some, and we bought another case. So but I thought the stores were doing a little better with that. So I don't know.
I don't know.
They're not necessarily, at least in New Haven downtown. And you can even use like Instacart or Peapod, and you put in toilet paper, and that's always the first thing that they say, like, can't get, or like still out. And I'm wondering why, but I think an article came out, and I didn't read it, but it said the title was like, why toilet paper is still an issue.
I don't get it. Like,
people are buying in bulk because they're scared. Yeah.
Because my husband does the grocery shopping, and I tell him I just add it to the list every time, because I'm like, you never know when it's just gonna like run out again. Then they talk about this second wave coming, and I'm like, just keep buying. Every time you go, just buy a stack.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And we do the same thing with water and a few other things. So
it's funny though, because my background, I worked at United Healthcare as a consumer experience designer, and so I did a lot of process design change with working with the analytics and data team and technology. So I knew what that was, because I built decks before to show like a database repository kind of thing, and we've always used that same type of symbol.
Yep. Yeah, that's the database icon.
Yeah.
I can see, now that you're saying toilet paper, I can see that.
Now I know though that's the database icon. Okay.
Yeah.
But so typically a ransomware attack starts with phishing, as we talked about. And phishing, again, could be through email, could be through text message, it could be through voice. So somebody calls you up and tries to get information out of you. It's all social engineering. It's all the weakest link in any chain of events is always the human link. They come in through phishing. You click on a link, and instead, so you, like you said, Sam, you had the PDF document, the 60-page PDF document. You click on a PDF document, and PDF can launch an executable file on a computer.
That's so crazy.
So now this executable file is launched. The executable now gives an attacker access to that computer, whatever it is, a server. Usually it's a server, but it could be a computer. And now what they're looking for is, so they don't launch the ransomware attack right away anymore. They wait. And what they're doing in this time is they're looking around, they're poking around. What else can I find? Can I find other credentials that give me more access? Can I find data that might be sensitive for me to steal? And they will steal data. Anything they find, they will steal it. Data is worth more than gold on the dark web.
Yeah.
So they'll steal whatever they could find. They will grab any credentials. They will try to leave something behind, so that in the event that somebody discovers they're there and they're able to get them off, now they have another way back in.
What do they do with this data, like, mainly? Like, what's the trend that they're doing with your data now that once they get it?
A lot of it is stolen identities. So they steal your identity and then use it somewhere else. Credit card information, obviously they're buying things with it. I'm still not clear what they're doing with the healthcare information, but they do use it, and it is actually the most valuable stuff on the dark web.
Yeah. Wow. I'm like wondering what they would even use that for besides breach of privacy. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it could be that privacy. You know, like there was a plastic surgeon in Florida that was hit with a ransomware attack. It was one of the first ransomware attacks where they stole data. So that whole aspect of it, stealing the data, just started towards the end of last quarter of 2019. That's all new stuff. And the reason they do it is because if you steal the data and you say, hey, I also have this data. I have your client's data. You don't want people to know that I have your client's data, do you? And now you're more likely to pay the ransom.
Yep.
The one in Florida, the plastic surgeon, he actually started calling some of the plastic surgeon's clients and telling them he had the data.
Oh, wow.
So now he's like, all right, I guess I'll pay the ransom.
Well, what if they hire somebody to come in and don't pay the ransom?
A lot of companies will, especially if you're asking for $42 million, your chances of that being paid are very slim.
And they know that. Yeah.
Yeah, but they figure, hey, I'll attach Donald Trump's name to it and the election's in 6 months, then I'm sure I'll get paid. But, you know, they don't think it through really. Because I don't know of any business that would pay $42 million. Even if I had the money, I'm not. If I was Jeff Bezos, I wouldn't pay $42 million.
No.
He's at a minute, so.
Right.
Although he's the first trillionaire now, apparently. So maybe he would.
I don't know.
He should be sending out stimulus checks.
Is he after the divorce? I heard he was going to try to buy the post office. So.
Oh, wow. I didn't hear that. Wow.
Because they were in trouble. They got some money now, so I guess they're okay now. But I heard he's going to try. It would make sense. He's been trying to do his own delivery for a while now. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would make sense. Yep.
So they steal the data. They will threaten to release it, and in many cases they do, because the ransom doesn't get paid. But it's going to continue to evolve. They're going to continue to look for more ways to extort money out of these businesses. And you know, whether it's client data, which a lot of times it is, whether it's proprietary information that they don't want the rest of the world to see. Maybe you have some I don't know, blueprints or something you don't want people to see. So it could be any of those things where they don't, that information would now become even more valuable in the eyes of that business. So it used to be get in, encrypt everything, get out, and then demand a ransom. Now it's get in, hang around for a little while, see what other information you could find, steal some
like
information. And the ransomware is actually the last step in the attack now. And once you're hit with ransomware, it's too late.
Is that a one and done thing, or do they target these businesses and then they come back and do it again?
If you pay, you're more likely to be targeted again.
I would think so, yeah.
Yeah, and they will try. There was a company in Australia, I think they're called Toll Group. They've been hit twice already this year.
Wow.
They're a big company. I don't remember what they do, but I know they were a really big company in Australia, and twice already this year. So yeah, they you know, they're probably like, I won't say what they were probably thinking, but it's not good.
No.
You know, Australia has had a tough time anyway, so there's those distractions too. You know, they started with the fires early in the year too.
I remember that, and we thought it was a really bad start to 2020, and then look what happened.
Yeah. So that's what I was just talking about. The anatomy of a ransomware attack typically starts with phishing. So this is an example of phishing email that I just grabbed off the internet. So you can see the email address is not a legitimate email. So Rackspace is a hosting company, and it should be at rackspace.com or something along those lines. I'm not sure if it's .com, but this is obviously not an email address you'd get it from. But you can see ticket ID 93 blah blah blah. So maybe that you would think that's legitimate because of that. And then billing, SSL store. So the SSL certificate, if you build websites, you know today you pretty much need an SSL certificate on your website. So now the customer might be thinking, or the victim might be thinking, oh, maybe my SSL certificate expired. Let me check this out. That's fear. Because what happens if your SSL certificate expires? People can't get to your website. But then you can see here that we inform you that our automated system, so it's poor grammar. So that's another clear indication that it's not a legitimate email. And then click to access. Click here. You can hover over this link and see what it goes to without actually clicking on it, and it won't harm anything. In real, this is just an image, but in real life, you could hover over it and see where it goes to. But I like I said earlier, I tell people all the time, do not click it. If it's coming from Rackspace and you're a Rackspace customer, you know how to get to that website already.
Right.
So don't click it, just type it in. Phishing is the act of trying to hook a target. That's why it's called phishing, into doing something they would not normally do. For example, click a link or enter a password or open a PDF or other file. Executables can be stored in PDFs. They can be stored in Word documents. You can have macros. Disable macros on Word and Excel if you use macros. If you don't need to use them, just disable macros. Sometimes that's how attacks occur, through macros. Most commonly.
So how are you alerted that this has happened unless the company alerts you itself? Is it clear once you've clicked on the link, like windows pop up and like different things happen? Or could they just steal your stuff and then they have to let you know, like, hey, we stole your stuff?
There is no 100% way to know for sure.
Okay.
Other than doing everything manually. We offer a service that monitors your accounts to see if they've been breached, and
right.
I'm not going to know 5 minutes after it happens, but usually within a few days we'll know.
So that's how most people are alerted. They use a service to stop these ransomware attacks. Okay.
Right. The better thing to do, because even a few days, if they have access for a few days, a lot of damage can be done.
Mm-hmm.
So the better thing to do is just to make sure it doesn't happen. Mm-hmm. So phishing attacks can happen through social media, text messaging, and phone calls. I forgot social media. Facebook, it happens a lot. Mm-hmm. So you get those. I think they've stopped a lot of it now, but you see all those things where they click here to see, I don't know, how much of a jerk you are in real life or something like that.
Yeah.
So you click those things, and they in the past have stolen information. I don't know if that's still the case, if Facebook has figured out a way to block that. I still see those things and I avoid them like a plague, but
yep,
that's how they
What
work.
What about the Facebook Messenger? I keep hearing that there's viruses and stuff that spread through the videos and the links in Facebook Messenger, and you shouldn't keep sharing them.
So you can have viruses through videos. I don't know about on Facebook. I have not heard that, but you can have malicious content come through a video. It's embedded in the video, especially if it's a flash video. If anything is flash, just avoid it. Eventually, flash will be phased out anyway. Adobe's phasing it out, I think, by next year.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's such a vulnerable piece of software. It's always compromised. But yes, Facebook Messenger is being used to try to phish people.
Okay.
So even images, you can open an image and that image could have something embedded in it.
Embedded, yeah. Yeah.
So those chain messages, and I get them. There's probably 5 or 6 people on my friends list that send me those things all the time, and they don't even, they don't intend to cause any harm, but you never know.
Yeah.
It's not their intention. They're just forwarding something that they got, but you never know.
And I would assume a lot of the victims are older, using social media and sending these emails because they don't know these things could happen.
There's that, and that is a big part of it, is the education piece.
It's the uncles in my family. My uncles, they send
my grandma,
like nonstop Facebook messages all day long.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I think most of the ones I get are older than me.
And then your last one.
A lot of times, like you said, they don't know better. So.
No, my husband actually, did he forward me the email? I forget what he did, how I saw it. He got an email at work from his from the president of the company, and they had just recently did a bunch of layoffs right when COVID-19 hit, and so he got an email from the president of the company saying that it went to all branch managers, and that he's looking for ways to boost employee morale. So he wanted to get the employees a gift, and so replied to that email with suggestions on what he can get the employees. And so my husband called me because he was like, it just seems strange that the president is asking, but he was more like, what should I tell him? What do the employees want? What do you think? And so we're like talking through it. And then I said, I'm looking at the email, and he sent me a picture. He took a picture of the email on the screen and sent it to me. And I'm looking at the email, and I was like, but why would Frank use that email address, right? Would he use that his personal email address, or like his assistant wouldn't know he's planning on doing this? Like, that's strange. And my husband said, you know what? That's a good question. I think I
Let me
should forward this to
contact
IT. They have like an IT phishing email, and he sent it in, and they say, yeah, it wasn't real.
Yeah.
The same thing happened, almost the same thing happened to the library recently. We had a director change, and our old director, who would have been using their personal email because they no longer would have had the company email, emailed everyone, and it just said her name, and it was a similar thing like, I want to get a gift card, or I know Arthur might be able to explain this more, but it was something very similar, and we got like a notification right away from IT saying like, do not open this email, we're not doing a gift thing.
Yeah, and so those are very common actually, and the use of gift cards is also very common with hackers. So I actually just saw, I'm on a few groups on Facebook, which I should get out of them because they drive me nuts with the questions that are asked. But there are hackers that are looking to buy and sell gift cards. So they will use gift cards and things like that for hacking purposes, for that type of activity. But yeah, that example you just gave, Sam, is very common, where you get an email from that looks like it's coming from an executive at your company.
Yeah.
And some people will fall for it, but it's also, so there is phishing simulation too, so there could have been a test too.
Okay.
And
yeah, so at United Healthcare, that was my thought I had. At United Healthcare, they used to do the test. And people on my team would be like, oh, I can't believe I fell for it.
Yeah.
Because they look so real. They even use like United Healthcare email addresses.
Yeah.
So it looked so real. And then you're like, oh, I can't believe I fell for it. And then the email says, nope, this would have been a phishing attempt.
Please pay attention. Yeah.
And now you have more training.
Yeah.
And I still open that email.
You're
so
like,
that's the thing though. So that's what they count on. They count on, one, that you're distracted right now, and we're all distracted. Everybody's distracted. You know, whatever is going on in the world, there are times of distraction, and right now is a big distraction. They count on your emotions, and a lot of time that emotion is, most of the time it's fear, but it could be something else. So that's what they're looking for, to say, you know, in this example, the fear is my Ssl certificate might expire. Let me check that out. A lot of people would be like, who cares? But in this case, this is a business owner, and maybe his livelihood is that website. He wants to make sure it's still operational. You know, that's what they count on. They count on distraction, and they count on fear, or any emotion, but fear being the most common. And it will happen. It will happen where, you know, I'm the boss of this company, so if I get an email from myself, I'll know it's fake. But for bigger companies, they will say, you know, my last job that I had, we would, I don't know if they did phishing simulation. I don't remember, but we definitely got trained on it. And there were phishing emails that we would see that would come from executives, and my team always picked it up right away because that's what we did. But other teams would be like, oh, let me check this out. It happens. And this was an international company. They had offices here in Connecticut. They had offices all up and down the East Coast, in India, all over the place. So it wasn't just here, it was everywhere they would send these emails. They do most often occur through phishing, and they do most often happen to employees. So you see this a lot during the holiday season too. So November and December, all of a sudden you're getting all these emails about sales, and there's a problem with your credit card, click here to update it. And so things like that. And if they're doing it from work, which happens a lot, they're doing their Christmas shopping at work now. They may unknowingly let someone into the work network. And when they do that, now here we are, these guys are sitting on the network looking for more ways to do damage. The other one that happens a lot at work is social media. So my last job that I had, again, they blocked Gmail completely. You couldn't go into Gmail, you couldn't go into Facebook, because they didn't want that. They didn't want for you to forward something to your Gmail account. They didn't want for something to come into your Gmail and you open it, and now you've given somebody access to that computer.
So one of my friends works for the federal government down in the DMV area, like Virginia.
Yep.
And I tell her it's so weird because she'll be texting me or emailing me, like on her way to work.
Mhm.
And then she's like, okay, continue the conversation on Facebook Messenger because my cell phone isn't allowed in the building and I can't access my Gmail or, my personal email in the building, but I'm on Facebook. And I'm like, how are you on Facebook? How do they allow Facebook but nothing else?
That's a good question. I'm
And
surprised.
that's the government.
Yeah. I know the feds lock things down pretty tight. One of my clients, he's a psychiatrist for the VA, but he has a side practice. So he's my client for the side practice, but he tells me what he's got to go through to be able to use his VA laptop. And it's pretty intense.
Wow.
Yeah. So you have to have your badge with you at all times. And that badge is the only way that laptop will work. So if you get up to go to the bathroom, you have to take the badge out and go to the bathroom. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to get back in. So once he takes the badge out, the computer's inoperable.
So he takes the badge. So it's like a card thing. He puts it into
card
the
reader.
computer.
Yep.
And then he gets up to go to the bathroom, go on break. He has to take it out with him every time.
Yep.
What happens if he leaves it in?
He won't be able to get back to his desk.
Oh, so it's the key card too. So it's the, oh, wow.
Yep. There's biometrics should be used wherever possible. I know not all devices are capable yet, but even your smartphone, use biometrics over, I know some
What
have
is that?
like thumbprint or facial recognition. But even those can be bypassed, but it's harder to do.
Okay.
Now I think that's next. We'll get to how to prevent this even more. Yeah, here we go. Mitigation. So really, there is no 100% way to prevent a cyber attack, primarily ransomware, except unless you never connect to the internet. If you want to stay off the internet and never use a USB drive, computer viruses go back to way before high-speed internet. They used to happen. They used to be, I don't have one, but they used to occur with floppy drives.
Mm.
You would insert the floppy disk, it had a virus, and now your computer is messed up.
I remember that. So how does that happen with the USB drive?
Same thing. You insert the USB drive, an auto run program starts up, and it launches an attack.
Like a USB drive that you just buy?
No. What they'll do is they'll leave it somewhere. So they'll leave it at the, if you're at the doctor's office, maybe they'll leave it in the waiting room or something. And somebody will pick it up and insert it into a computer to see what's on it. And then now they've launched that attack. What I see too is if I walk into, like my primary care physician, when I first started going to him, there were a few things he was doing that used to drive me nuts. One of them was he used to keep a clipboard at the front desk, and you would put your name and the reason you were there and who you were there to see on this clipboard, that everybody was doing the same thing, so everybody could see who was there when you were there.
Wow.
Which is a HIPAA violation.
Yes.
But they used to also have to have the front desk computers. There were 2 computers right at the front desk with no kind of protection. And all I had to do was plug a flash drive into them. And he wasn't the only one. I've seen other doctors do the same thing. And there are flash drives that can copy the contents. There's software that you can use to copy the contents of that computer to the flash drive within minutes.
And that's so much information.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
It's like the gas station card reader when they put the ATM machine thing.
Card skimmers, yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That's why with gas stations, I only go to gas stations that are open 24 hours now, or at least have cameras, because you're right, it happens a lot. So how do you mitigate those risks? Well, if there is a flash drive lying around, don't pick it up and insert it in anything. Just give it to the receptionist, whoever is there, and let them know you found it. Hopefully they're smart enough not to do anything with it.
That's what I'm saying. If you give it to the staff and then they go, oh, somebody must have left it, let me plug it in.
That's important for the library because we get a lot of flash drives people just forget. And so it'd be very easy for someone to just put it in a public computer and then we find it thinking someone forgot it. And I wouldn't put it in the computer to like look at the files, but like someone might.
Yeah.
So what do you do in that sense, though?
We
I
keep
mean, the safest thing to do is to just get rid of it. You know, hang on to it in case somebody comes back for it, but don't use it.
we just physically keep it in the drawer. But yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah.
Okay. So then I wonder about like places like Staples. I would go to Staples to print a lot, and I would just give them my thumb drive and say it's on this file. Like, aren't they really susceptible then?
They probably have, well, so I know that those computers don't, you have to put a credit card in to get them to work. I don't know, does Staples do the same way as FedEx?
Well, yeah, so Staples has the self-serve one where I could go up to the printer and do everything myself. That's the same as, you know, putting the flash drive into it. Or I can hand it to the staff, and they could put it in their computer.
And just do it for you.
Like the actual
They
computer.
probably have something to block auto run.
I would think, yeah.
Yeah.
They don't want their computers getting.
No.
In Windows 10 disables auto run by default, but there are still ways around it. There's always software to get around those things. But yeah, you're right. You know, that's, I guess that would leave them a little susceptible to that. I don't use Staples. I've never been happy with Staples printing anyway, but I have occasionally used FedEx. And I know FedEx have to put a credit card in.
Plus for the library.
Yeah.
But so in reality, the way to mitigate it, the biggest thing is training and education. So we kind of touched on that, right? So you get those fake phishing simulations, and that's what we do. We do that too. We send out once a month. We send out phishing emails to clients just to see how they respond. And if they click on something, then we know that they need further training.
That's super smart.
And what I've found is so just taking the healthcare breaches. A lot of times it'll say something like 5 email accounts have been breached. Well, if that's happened, then that means your employees are not being trained. And if your employees are not being trained, you're just opening yourself up to big problems.
Yeah.
If it's one account, I could see maybe that the training happened and maybe that one employee just didn't pay attention, or maybe they're new or something like that. But when it's 5 or 6 accounts, then there's no training going on.
So does your firm go in and do organizational training on this?
We do. I do the training sometimes, but then we also have video training that we send out. And then we do the simulation as well. I have been in talks with another company to provide training as well. We're still in talks though, so they'll be training not just on phishing, but other things too. So it sounds like a really good opportunity to help train my clients, but we're still talking. There is the phishing mitigation piece, and so how do we mitigate phish? So phishing, there is software out there that will block it. We use a couple of pieces of software that block phishing. One of them, what it does is every email that comes in, if it knows for sure that it's phishing, it gets blocked, and the only way that it'll come through is if I go in and say, or one of my people go in and says, yeah, that's okay, it's not phishing. Which is very rare because usually the software catches it. Then the emails that do come through, there'll be a banner across the top of the email, and if it doesn't recognize the sender, it will say the sender is not recognized, or even it might say the sender is someone you know, but this email address is not recognized, and it'll be in red so you can't miss it. And so then you can report it to us, and we can look at it and determine whether or not it's phishing.
So, okay, so it's not up to the business owner, because then I'm like, how do I know the phishing mitigation software is legit and it's not a scam too? Like, I would assume you'd have to download it onto your computer, right? So, like, how would a consumer know?
Yeah, it's set at the email level, so it's not at the computer level. It's going through the email service. So when it goes through the email server, then it's being flagged at that point. So then when you get it, it's already been flagged at that point, one way or the other. And there's also banners across the top that'll say this is okay and so forth. We also use DNS filtering, which blocks out a lot of the phishing websites. So remember earlier I said there were 2,000 COVID-19 themed domains purchased every week in April. those websites get flagged automatically because they're new websites. So any website that's, I think 90 days or newer, automatically blocked, unless we go in and manually add that website to the whitelist. It blocks out, so we can block out websites based on content. So social media, adult content, gambling content, things like that can be blocked out. And those types of websites are very commonly associated with phishing as well. Not so much social media, but adult and gambling sites are. And then there is multi-factor authentication or two-factor authentication, which is probably the biggest piece. I do a whole training just on passwords and on multi-factor authentication, because that is a big part of protecting your email accounts, protecting your data, all of it. Using complex passwords, meaning the more characters your password has, the better. So I don't have the numbers in front of me, but the difference between brute forcing a 6-character password and an 8-character password in the amount of time it takes is extremely significant.
Wow.
Now, I'm not suggesting 8 characters either. I usually don't go any less than 15. The way, so now everybody's going to go, okay, 15 characters. What am I going to do for a password, right? I get that a lot, right? And then, by the way, complex password also means don't use the same password for 2 different things. So every single thing needs a different password.
That's what's hard for me.
Right. So how do you manage that? Well, one way is use, instead of just random numbers, letters, characters, and so forth, use password phrases like lyrics, song lyrics, or movie titles, or movie quotes, or, you know, something like that, with some special characters and numbers. Another thing you could do is use a password manager. So a common one is LastPass, which you can use for free. And even in the paid version is not that expensive. I think it's like $2 a month or something. And then you store all the passwords in your password manager, and you set one complex password for your password manager. And that's the only one you need to remember. So that's
what is the likelihood of the password manager getting hacked?
I get that. I get asked that every time.
Yeah.
They are, so LastPass I know for sure is a very secure system. Does that mean that they've never been compromised or haven't potentially been compromised? They have had vulnerabilities in the past. Part of that, again, is making sure you're using a complex password or that you're using multi-factor authentication. So you turn that, I turn on 2-factor authentication for everything. So, you know, my bank account, my Facebook account, my PayPal account, all of the software I use for work, LastPass has 2-factor authentication turned on. So in order to use it, there is an app on my phone. I have to go in and get a temporary passcode. Oh, you can't see it because that thing is. Get a temporary passcode, like a 6-digit number, or in some cases an 8-digit number, and that is the only way you can get in. So you put in your password, and then it prompts you for the 2-factor authentication code. You have an application on your phone that every 30 seconds generates a new code, and you use that as your second form of authentication. And then your phone, like I said earlier, has biometrics. So you use your thumbprint or a facial scan to get onto your phone that secures it even more.
So is LastPass a website also, or is it just an app?
It's both. Yeah, LastPass.com.
So on the website, they have the 2-factor authentication?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And there's others. There's 1Pass, I think, or 1Password, something like that. 1Pass, I think, is very similar to LastPass. There's enterprise level stuff as well. And
so what if LastPass, the company, gets hacked?
Hopefully that their databases are secure enough that even if they get hacked, the databases can't be compromised. That's
their whole business. So yeah, I would assume that if anyone has real protection, it would be something like LastPass.
Yeah, I mean, there is no 100% way to say that's not going to happen. There is, you know, they'll say 5 nines or 6 nines, and what that means is 99.9999% not it not happening.
Okay.
So you hear that more of uptime. So uptime, if you have 5 nines uptime, that means your systems are up 99.999% of the time.
I've never heard that.
Yeah. I know they've had vulnerabilities. I don't know that they've ever been compromised. There are people, but then, so if then that's a legitimate question, right? So then if you are concerned with that, so what do? There is software you can just install on your computer, like Keepass is one I've used in the past. And it's KEE Pass. And it does essentially the same thing, but it's installed on your computer, which is great because it's not accessible to the internet. But then if you're not at your computer and you're somewhere else, you don't have it.
Interesting. So it would be better, I mean, to use these than not, like your risk goes down.
Yeah.
On like every separate one, because of the password being different. So like it's better to use it than not. I would think it would outweigh the risk most times.
Right, and that's what risk mitigation is about, reducing the risk as much as you can. As an example, I had someone recently, we discovered that their password was available and freely in clear text. So passwords are in 2 forms when they've been hacked. There's clear text and then there's hashed. Hashed means it's not the actual password, it's like the encrypted version of your password. And in some cases, the encrypted version of your password can be decrypted, but a clear text password is a problem because now we know what the password is. So her password was on the internet already, and what I told her was, wherever you have that password, you need to change it now, because now they have it. They're going to try other applications to get in. She had that same password on so many different applications. It took her days to go through them all and fix it.
Wow.
Yeah, it took me hours last time I had to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you're not going to remember everywhere you've used that password either.
No.
So that's where something like LastPass or KeyPass or whatever comes in, because now you've saved them all there. Oh, okay, this is easy to do now.
Do those sites or apps generate passwords for you?
LastPass can, yes. There are ones, I think they do it for free too, but like I sometimes go to Norton Password Generator, and you just click on, how many characters you want it and what types of characters you want to use, and it'll generate a password for you.
Well, that was going to be one of my questions too. What do you, or your views on like McAfee and Norton and all that? Do they bring viruses? Do they mess up your computer?
I no longer use, they had their time. I no longer use them, either one of them. I would definitely avoid AVG and Avast as much as you can. Avast owns AVG now, and Avast was caught, I don't know if you want to say stealing, but in a way they were grabbing people's information whenever they were browsing.
Wow.
They fixed that, so I don't know. That's why I don't know if it was intentional or not. But Symantec and McAfee and those types of programs, the way they operate is, so malware, there's new malware released all the time, every day, different strains. And then even the ones that are out there, they'll take it and, so like COVID-19, they say is mutating. The same thing with malware for your computer, it mutates, they change it, even the slightest change in it makes it a different malware. What happens is the companies like Norton and McAfee, they have to wait for that malware to come out before they update their files, their what's the word I'm looking for? The way for them to identify those files. And so they're always behind the 8 ball. They always have to wait for that new malware to come out to say, okay, we need to update our files to be able to stop that malware. Well, there's always that little time frame in between where that's a problem. So
what do you recommend?
So yeah, so I use anomaly based anti-malware. So I'm using Cylance. Cylance, you have to go through a vendor to get it, but Cylance, and there's others out there that do it. Basically what it does is it looks for changes to your computer and says this isn't right, and then blocks it. So, and then
would you suggest an anonymizer too, like every time you go to a website?
Yeah, it depends on what you're doing. That can be a hassle too, and not all of them are safe either. I do use one. I use ExpressVPN, but I don't use it all the time. It depends on what I'm doing. NordVPN, which is a very popular one, was caught looking at their customer information, which they're not
Wow.
supposed to be doing. They're selling the exact opposite, and they're actually looking at it.
Yeah.
So ExpressVPN has been good. I don't use it all the time, so I don't know. It really depends on what you're doing. If there's certain types of things you don't want people to see, then yes.
Okay.
Business continuity is huge. We talked about that. That's business continuity and disaster recovery. That is making sure you have a backup of everything, and you should have multiple versions of that backup. So you may have a local-based backup and then a cloud-based backup, and that decreases the chances of that backup being a problem.
And so how does that work with the external hard drive, right? That's the backup, right? So you plug it in through USB on your computer, and then does something pop up and say back it up?
Some external hard drives come with the software, some don't. So you can also get the software, and there are free software that'll do it. Yeah. There's also network attached hard drives. They will cost a little more, but it's also easier to manage. So you would plug it into your router or something and back up to that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But if you don't do backups, last winter, I had a lawyer call me up out of the blue, and it was a day we had an ice storm, and he said his computer blew up. So I'm computer blows up. I'm like, oh, okay, his computer stopped working. No, his computer legitimately blew up. I went and picked it up, and you could still smell it burning.
Oh my God.
And so he asked me to just get the data off the hard drive. I said, well, as long as the hard drive's not physically damaged, I can do that. Once the hard drive is physically damaged, it has to go to a specialty shop where they take the hard drive apart and read all the cylinders, and you have to have a dust-free room. I don't have that. Those rooms are expensive, and they cost a lot of money to have that done. It cost them $2,500 to do it.
Oh,
The hard drive was physically damaged, so I couldn't do it. So I got it back to him and told him where to send it. And he did not have a backup. This is a law firm. A lawyer is a single person law firm. And the problem with that is, in Connecticut, you have to keep your client files for 7 years after the case closes. So if he lost that, he was fortunate enough that the data recovery place could do it. But if he did lose that, he'd be in big trouble with the state.
I was gonna say, would he go to jail? Like, would he have to pay a bunch of money, or?
Yeah, he'd probably be fined. I don't think he'd go to jail. He would probably would be fined, and he would probably not be able to practice for a while.
because don't they charge you like per number of files, like person files lost? I know in the healthcare industry it's like that sometimes with the HIPAA violations. It's like you get fined per the number of violations. So if his hard drive crashed with 300 different clients files on it, it would be like, $1,000 fine times 300.
So the healthcare, yeah, you're right. They have a way to mathematically figure out what the penalty will be. And then after that, a lot of times they'll negotiate a lower penalty. But with law firms, because there isn't a national data protection law in the US yet, and I don't think there is one for Connecticut at all, I don't know how they figure out what the fine is. I can check I have a few friends that are lawyers. I could check with them, but they probably would be a fine. I know for sure he would have been censored. He wouldn't be able censured. He would not be able to practice for a while.
Wow.
Which, as a lawyer, what else are you going to do at that point? So
Yeah.
business continuity is a big part of it, making sure you have those backups and a plan for disaster recovery. And that plan is also an important part of it. So as you know, you have to have processes in place. If you don't have processes in place, you're really scrambling when that incident happens. And then the last piece, of course, is proactive operating and software patching. So, which is also a huge piece. So if you're operating on, let me give you a recent example. Well, I mean, that's a concern that I had with businesses reopening right now. They haven't had their computers on in a couple months. So that means there's been at least 2 cycles of Microsoft updates that have gone through that they haven't patched for. And some of those patches addressed very critical vulnerabilities. So if they're not patched, they're vulnerable. And so you go in, you haven't worked in 2 months, You turn on your computers, Microsoft says, hey, we have this update. What are you more likely to do at that point? You're not going to do the update because you want to get to work. So now you're making yourself vulnerable. So you have to find a way to automate it. That's what we do. We automate it. So Microsoft patches are usually the second Tuesday of the month. By Friday of that week, we've patched all our clients. This month, we actually patched everybody on Tuesday. This month, I should say. Software updates like Google Chrome just had an update and it addressed a lot of vulnerabilities. We pushed that out this week. Making sure that all your software is up to date. Adobe has updates all the time. If you use PDF Reader, which let's face it, almost everybody does, making sure that that's up to date, because there's always vulnerabilities with that too. The patching is almost always to address vulnerabilities. Sometimes there's features involved, but almost always vulnerabilities.
Is patching another word for updating?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Look at you catching on.
Yep, you're hired. Yep. So that is, whoa, what just happened to my slide?
You're the computer guy.
How can you still just...
Okay, here we go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's where we're at. Questions?
So if the library is updating the computers this Friday, they're shutting them all down so that we can't, and Arthur, you can chime in, so we can't access the computers, we can't remote in. But is there anything with remoting in that we should be looking into?
Yeah, if you're using remote desktop, you should be doing it over VPN. And you should enable some type of multi-factor authentication. I will tell you, I won't say which municipality in Connecticut, but a larger municipality in Connecticut, it's not New Haven. I helped one of their employees get set up to work from home when this whole thing started. And their IT sent him an email, and then I talked to the IT over the phone. He said, yeah, just click on the link in the email and that'll get him set up. So it turns out it was remote desktop protocol, which is Microsoft's remote desktop software. But he was using a password, super simple, less than, I think it was like 8 characters, all lowercase, and they were not doing VPN. So what happens is remote desktop protocol is actually a pretty common attack vector for hackers.
Wow.
And some larger MSPs, which is what I do, is I'm an MSP, managed service provider. Some larger ones last year were hit through remote desktop protocol, and they got ransomware, and then through remote desktop protocol they went out to the MSP's clients. Like there was 110 dental practices last year that were all hit with ransomware because their MSP was using this software and they weren't securing it. So over VPN.
So I would think in COVID, because so many people are working from home and remoting in, this would be like a big problem.
And it is, and it's something. So the municipality. The problem with the municipalities is I can't really say anything to them because then they look at me as a potential threat. So a lawyer was telling me that I'm better off just leaving it alone because.
Wow.
And you're just trying to help.
Like if it was a business, I would have reached out to them right away. I would have told them, say, hey, this is what you should be doing. And then at that point, it's on them. If they do it, great. If they don't, then what am I going to do?
Yeah.
But yes, over VPN and then multi-factor authentication, there are third-party applications that do it as well, that in some cases are more secure. There was a vulnerability with remote desktop protocol that somehow created a vulnerability for those third-party applications as well. So as long as you're doing the patching with Microsoft and doing it over VPN, you should be okay.
So go to my PC. Do you know anything about if that's safe?
Yeah, it's a little more secure because it's not using Windows protocols. It's using its own. It's really done over the internet, and I think it's encrypted on both ends.
Okay, good. Yeah, my dad's using that. I know that we're using TeamViewer. Is that a good one?
TeamViewer is okay. It has been used in attacks before, though.
Okay, so we just need to be careful.
The free version of TeamViewer, I take it.
I don't know, Arthur. Are we paying for it?
It is the free version we are using.
It's a free version. Okay, so we just got to be careful.
TeamViewer makes you pay for the full year, so a lot of people get turned off by that.
Yeah.
And I think we had a suggestion, or the suggestion to use this came from our city IT, actually. So, and Anthony adopted it.
Okay.
It's not horrible, but it has been used in the past. So just be careful with passwords and so forth.
Okay.
So for your services that you provide, do you have a range of services for smaller mom and pops versus larger companies?
Yeah, our services are priced based on the number of users. So if it's a 2-person business, they're not going to pay as much as a 50-person business. We don't count computers, so you could be 2-person business and have 5 computers. You're still paying the same as 2-person business with 2 computers.
That's good.
Yeah, because realistically, it's the users that need to be protected, not the computers.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I was like, I have one of the ones that was driving me crazy this morning. Law firm. There's 3 employees. Actually, I just found out there's 2 now because one got laid off because of 19, but it's temporary. And they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think 6 computers total, because they have their office computers, which are pretty much dormant right now, but we keep them on so that I can continue to patch and monitor them. And they have their laptops that they're working from home. One is a desktop and the other 2 are laptops. So they're still only paying for 3, but there's 6 computers total.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. And do you guys ever serve where it's like public use of computers? Because I know that makes us more vulnerable, and we have to be really careful with privacy for like patrons and stuff. So I'm just curious if that's like a whole separate beast, or if you work with that at all.
You mean like computers that multiple people use?
Yeah, like it's not like personal. Like we would just we don't have no idea how many users we have. Like
so that's a little different. I don't have any clients like that, but I would be able to come up with something. Yeah. In that case, I'd probably have to do by computer.
Right. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
I don't know, Arthur, you have any questions? You're the guy that knows more about this.
I've been trying to figure out, Arthur, you look really familiar to me and I don't know why.
Oh. I don't know.
Maybe he worked with your law firm that you worked for.
Oh, you used to work for a law firm?
I did briefly, yeah.
Where was the law firm? New Haven?
Yeah, in New Haven, yeah.
Yeah, I don't have any law firms in New Haven.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. For some reason, I wind up with law firms in Fairfield County. I don't know why.
Oh, that's not a bad market though.
No.
Yeah.
It's not, as long as I don't have to go out there all the time. That was
Yeah.
I actually at one time had a very large marketing firm in Norwalk, but this was going back probably 10 years ago or so, and there were 50 employees, but the problem was they wanted me there all the time, and Meriden to Norwalk every day is brutal.
Yeah.
So I ended up dropping them. They went with another company out of Milford.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you work with New York companies too?
I do. So I try to do, the typical plan is most of it is done remotely and it includes unlimited remote support. So no matter what, I will support you remotely. And then quarterly visits to the office.
So feasibility speaking, can a solopreneur like me afford you?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay.
I have small
I like this connection.
There's a lot of the companies that do what I do won't go below a certain number of employees, but I don't have a minimum. One is fine by me.
Okay. I have my IT guy, I call him my senior VP of IT. He worked in the help desk with me. Whenever he seems like he's taking a long time to answer my question, I'm like, I'm gonna demote you and you're gonna lose your senior title if you don't hurry up and text me back. But I don't know, I feel like maybe I'm getting to that point where I need to like get a real guy.
Let me know, let's talk.
Okay.
You just got one new laptop and that's it?
Yeah, and then my senior VP of IT had me get my other laptop just like crashed. You would have loved me like 2 months ago when I was going into the library. Colleen can testify. I had electrical tape and masking tape holding the screen together to the the wires were coming out. And
Yeah,
then I
I've
had
never
to, like,
seen that before. That was
I had
kind of
to
fun.
put the screen in a certain position in order to see it. Otherwise, I couldn't see anything on the screen. And then I was working on a PowerPoint. I think it was PowerPoint it was. I was working on a PowerPoint for one of my webinars, and it just like died. Like it went kaput. And so I had to hurry up and find another one. This one that I got, I had him source it to find another one for me to replace it. And I got it in like 3 days, I think. And
Oh,
then
that's not bad right now.
no, but he was telling me that a lot of because that's why it was taking me so long to replace that one, because he was saying a lot of the laptops and stuff are coming from China and we can't get stuff in from China. So he was
Same
like,
thing
now
with
it's not a good
phones. I
time.
upgraded my phone and they only had 2 versions of a phone at Verizon. It was crazy.
See? Because
Yep.
he was saying you could get the new computer, but it's going to cost a lot more because of what's happening.
Yep.
So he was like, just wait it out. So I'm like, okay, I'll wait it out. I'll keep my monitor in a certain position. I'll tape it together and it's fine. And then it just crashed. So,
Yeah.
but he had also replaced my hard drive on the other computer. So I'm still holding on to that. That's why I have that thing, the external hard drive, because he was saying I can pull whatever I need. Because I can't turn it on at all. So I don't know if I have anything on the desktop. I'm used to now saving everything to Dropbox. So thankfully I was able to just keep, business continuity, just keep it going because I have that backup plan. But that's why he had me order that, because I don't know what's on there. And then I feel bad because I just paid for this new hard drive that he installed and the computer died.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what do I do with that hard drive?
Well, if that, you can use it. You can still use it. You can get a case for it and make it an external hard drive.
The one that's inside of the computer?
I've done that.
Yeah.
So then I have 2.
I did that,
I'll
yeah.
have 2 external hard drives.
The more, the merrier.
Yeah, right.
Do
I
it.
did that for a while. I used my old hard drive from my Apple computer that just died like years and years ago. And now I'm trying to update this one and I have to call Apple and I can't physically go into the store that's down the road and it's crazy. So I think I'm going to wait, but I'm trying to update the OS X on it.
Wow.
You didn't open the Apple store yet?
I mean, they might have on the 20th. I don't know.
I bet they did.
They probably did.
They don't want to take a hit, but there's probably like a waiting list to get into the store.
Yeah.
To get 6 feet distance and stuff. Yeah, I'll have to call them.
And even their appointment times the appointment times were bad before. I can't imagine how bad the appointments are now.
Yeah.
I'll have to look into that.
Into the Apple stores, they're insane.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, yes, here is Scott's information. Follow him on social media.
Perfect. Yeah. Thank you so much for letting us record this. I think it's going to help a lot of people.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yes,
for having me.
Thank you guys. And Scott, I'll follow up with you and see, we'll talk.
Okay, awesome.
All right. Bye. Nice to meet you.
All right. I'm going to close it out. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye.